And we are rolling here in Los Angeles at UCLA, where it's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. Look outside, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God, what a gorgeous campus we have. I hope you take time in between rushing for classes that you enjoy our beautiful campus. But let's turn our attention to the matter at hand, which is Viviana, who stands in the power stance nicely, right in the center of the room. Take a little half step that way. Good. Thank you so much. She's managing the tension, looking around the room, making sure all telephones are away, computers closed, books closed, no one's studying for the next class. Good. She's smiling, looking around the room for a fine, friendly eyes. She looks around and communicates respect, really meaning it. Looks at people and says, I respect you. Say your name, feel the love, and start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Viviana.
Hi, Viviana.
Out of the 19 films that Pixar has produced, Coco was the first film to cast a minority as the main character. Not only are people of color underrepresented in media, but when they are, they're often casted into play problematic and stereotypical roles. Mexicans, for example, are often boxed into playing the mistress, the incompetent, or even the help. Which is why I found Coco to be extremely refreshing and inspiring. For once, I saw myself, my family, and my culture represented in a positive light. Which is why today I want to speak with you all about a film that really moved me, Coco. It made me laugh, it made me feel proud, and ultimately, it made me feel grateful. Sandy Chen from Common Sense Media describes Coco as colorful, beautifully animated, and culturally sensitive, and I couldn't have agreed more.
Good.
So first off, I want to share with you all why this film made me laugh. The scene in the film that made me laugh was when Miguel, the 12-year-old boy, disobeyed his grandma, and as a result, she chucked her shoe at him from 200 feet away, which at first might not seem funny, but growing up in a Latina household, that was like the biggest weapon, the chancla, which means the shoe. And so I bursted out into laughter at this scene because of how close it hit to home. What I thought was funny was how everyone else in the theater burst into laughter too, which means that it wasn't only my experience, but it was a shared common experience within the Latino community, which is why I found that to be really funny and I laughed. The next scene in the film made me feel grateful. And the scene in the film that made me feel grateful was when, towards the end, Miguel sings the song to Mama Coco, which was a song that her father had wrote and sang to her when she was little. And for the first time in the movie, Mama Coco came to life. This part in the scene made me feel grateful because it reminded me of a time not too long ago with my father when he was outside in our backyard playing the guitar. And it was a beautiful day. It was sunny, the birds were chirping, and I hadn't seen him play the guitar since I was a little girl. So I decided to join him, and in that moment, we didn't really say much. He was just playing the guitar and I was listening to him. I felt an overwhelming sense, this feeling of gratefulness and happiness to still have him in my life. Despite the fact that he's aging and his health isn't at its best, I really took that moment to appreciate that I still do have him in my life and the fact that our memories are gonna last forever. And I could always go back and remember him in that sense. So that scene in the movie made me feel extremely grateful. And ultimately, the scene in the film that made me feel proud was in the end when all of Miguel's family members, his current family and his family from the afterlife, come together to celebrate El Día de los Muertos, which is a Mexican holiday where they celebrate they celebrate loved ones who have passed before them. And so this scene reminded me of, every year me and my family celebrate El Día de los Muertos, and the particular moment in which felt really beautiful was the fact that there was so much joy and love and family was being celebrated. And I think that that's something that I cherish the most about my culture, and the fact that it was finally represented in a positive light in a movie, it felt really amazing. And that's why that scene in the film made me feel really proud. And so in summary, I've showed you all why this film has made me laugh, why it's made me feel grateful, and why it's made me feel proud. And I hope that there's no doubt in this room that this film really moved me. As a Latina woman, there's often not many characters or heroes that look like me or my family. When there is, they're often represented in a negative stereotype, in a negative light, in a problematic way. And so that's why I found Coco to be extremely inspiring and amazing. From the setting to the music to the inside jokes, the movie felt like home to me. Thank you.
Thank you. So we started over there before, right? So we'll start this side. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
Hi, Daisy.
I loved your speech. It really resonated with me. I thought you kept it really simple, but you still managed to create an emotional connection, especially with the story of your dad, which is my favorite part.
Yeah. That was a good part. Music in the right context and in the right situations can really bind people together. And it has that universal language bridge that oftentimes can be very powerful. And I think this is one situation where everything sort of conspired to bring all the emotions together and work. Yes, sir.
I also thought it was a really good.
Man.
I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex.
I also thought it was a really good speech. I guess if there's something I would say to improve upon, maybe it would be like body language or something. Maybe like your hand motions, and like your eye contact, I guess.
So Alex, you felt she wasn't looking all around the room, and you felt her hands were at times distracting, or you noticed them instead of them being congruent with an emphasis on her words. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. Viviana, really good speech. Really good speech. Yeah. You carry a lot of tension in your body. I don't know if you know it, but when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you're going to see that there's a tension that emanates up from your legs. And it makes me a little tense, too, because I'm really sensitive to these things. I watch for them. I know you're tense in giving the speech, but I would recommend you try to do a little stretching when you're at your seat. Do this, what I call flex and release. I have my debaters do this that are afraid. They put their put their arms together as tight as they can. Flex your hands, and 10 seconds to release it. You find you get a... Then you do your legs. Sometimes when my debaters were on the road and they can't sleep, I have them do that exercise, and they're able to, they do their whole body, and it usually puts them down. So something like that, or Tai Chi, but just wanted to mention that to you. I noticed right away, and Alex mentioned it, so I thought I'd start off. I always try to start off on a positive note, but I thought we'd just mention that right away and get to that, because a little undercutting, yeah. Well, your hook, your thesis, yes. I don't know what to classify it as, but I will say it was damn effective. It was from the heart. It was one about, hey, I've grown up with going to movies and seeing dirty Mexicans and banditos and the mistress and the sleazies, and every time I see a Mexican on the screen, they're filthy and it's negative. I go to Coco and whew, what a breath of fresh air. So that was a heartfelt sort of catharsis that you came up with. So that was a good sort of let me get that off my chest. So I thought that it did fulfill the dimensions of an intro, and it was really quite unexpected, fulfilling for those of you reading in your text of something that we want to make our speeches more sticky. See, yeah, and so that was excellent. Well, you also mentioned other groups that were also, that we have a long way to go with a lot of groups that are, American movies have their staples of the blacks and the Middle Easterners and, the Chinese. Don't get me started. Okay. On your thesis, I'm quibbling now, but you will notice that you put them out of order. Yeah. And that's okay, at least you got them. But for the oral presentation, that's what your audience expected, and you want to keep them in order so that they follow it, you follow it, your summary, and you got back your summary, put it back in order, and so that was good. But and there's nothing to do about it. You recovered, and you did it what you had to do, recover. But it's good to the old cliche, you only get one chance to make a good first impression. So you really want your opening to be slick, and practice that a few extra times so that it just goes smooth as you can make it. Yeah. So that was the issue I had with your thesis. Mm-hmm. On your significant statement from Sandy Chen in Common Sense Media, she commented on the important part that you were looking for was the culturally sensitive, and you said you couldn't agree more. And I appreciate you getting the research to show that particular quote. So that was good. That was a plus for you on that, a significant statement, because it was consistent with your introduction, where you were going with your speech. On your first feeling, again, I want to remind you to use the Roman numerals for your outline. So we're on 4 now, and I would suggest you help yourself by putting the parts in paragraphs. So separate out the plot line in the film from your personal story, because those are two sort of separate entities, and when you merge them together, they're harder to remember in your mind. So you gave us a little plot summary, which was good. It was good and short, and then you segued into the sandal or shoe story of your personal household and the laugh in the film. And I like that. There was sort of a common community that shared that you're going to get the foot, you're going to get the shoe, so that was you were reliving, I might add, the mirth, the funniness that the scene created, and we felt it too. So that worked. So you were doing good felt sensing there, which is what I wanted. And you came back to the emotion of laugh in the end. So you met all my standards for your first emotion and you did it right. On the second emotion, grateful. Yeah. This was, I thought, your best. And oh, by the way, as another aside, when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, be sure to remember to walk and talk. It's a little weird to see somebody scurrying back and forth silently, you know. And just say something as you're going, okay? And it will be, you'll be more effective. So, on grateful. I'm skipping the plot summary because you did it right. It was brief and short. And here you told us of going to the backyard and seeing your father playing the guitar, and you set the scene for us with the sun out and the birds chirping and so forth. And the music and the scene that you set made you feel very nostalgic and made you feel very happy and loving that your father was still with you, and even though he's failing in his health a little bit, just to hear him play and be there with you and for you was a really good scene, and you returned to the emotion and that's why I felt grateful. So that was a good point and a good felt sensing. So many families in different cultures and traditions. In my family, we do Christmas carols that everyone joins in and sings. I know Christmas is PC, is not PC these days, but I notice as I look around the room, sometimes there's tears in the older people's eyes from the family, the aunts and uncles, to hear the old song sung again. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, I remember singing those as a kid. So, okay, on your third emotion, proud. Yeah, Day of the Dead. Yeah. Here, I'm going to suggest you did a good job. You said you were proud. Your proudness could have been locked in with just a little bit more detail of my Uncle Tony, and we remember Aunt Zelda, and the great way she was, and we just sat around a circle and talked about those that have passed, and we didn't want to forget them, I know that my wife's mother passed about 4 years ago. Her big fear was, she said, I don't want you to forget me, and I know you will. Promise me you'll remember me. If we're not going to forget you, but it's easier said than done, because time goes on and you get busy. So I like the culture that takes time to step off and remember those that came before us, especially those that were close to us and in the family. It's a very beautiful tradition. And you ended with, and that's why I felt proud. I just didn't really, wasn't completely convinced of your proudness because of the paucity of examples in your words. Yeah. One other thing while I'm on what you're doing with your hands, back to our boarding school friend here. You do this steepling, I just hate it. I hate this. And so try not to ever do that in your life. It's just, it's just a really bad habit. So don't steeple when you're speaking or in life. You'll see many people will do it to you when they feel they're superior to you. When you ask your boss for a raise, he'll go like this. When you ask your parents for money, they'll steeple. You know, so that's the other thing that I noticed about your nonverbal gestures that were a little distracting. Your summary was excellent. Your conclusion, no doubt that the film Coco really moved me, was excellent. And your tie back to the issue that you got off your chest in the opening, you tied back to beautifully. And so that was well done. Now, let's go through your kanai and let's go through how the speech might be made a little bit more sticky. You said shorten the duration of the speech. Focus on hitting the 5-minute mark. I'm afraid I forgot to ask some of the time. Did you time from now on?
Yeah.
Thank you, Spencer. Well, we'll just say it was 5 minutes. Walking with a purpose, yeah. Well, you clearly were walking on the parts of your speech. So is that what you meant by walking with a purpose?
Yeah.
And not pacing? Yes, okay. Following the exact formula that you did. Quote. Let's talk about this speech from a sticky point of view. Was it simple? Did you have simple emotions? Let's think about that. The emotions were laugh, grateful, and proud. I thought those were pretty easy emotions to communicate. So I give you pretty high marks there. Sometimes when people say, this film made me think, geez, that's a tough emotion to communicate, really, you know. So we're also always looking in a sticky speech that you always design in something unexpected, right? So I felt your intro and your tie back were unexpected. Did you have any other thing that you thought you were designing in or putting in that was unexpected? And do we all know the concept of the unexpected and other kinds of things we can do to make it something in our speech unexpected? And why do we want the unexpected, according to Heath? And Heath, I'll take an answer from anyone if you don't know it.
Just because to catch the audience's attention?
Yeah, it's an attention management device. And they argue that it's best to be used on your big point, you know, so if your big point was your dad guitar playing, and you wanted to suddenly sing a few lines of the song he was singing, that would be way different than what we normally hear in a speech. See, that would be, ooh, she sings, a nice voice, see? That would grab us and really help us remember that song. But see, I define creativity as a high level of functioning of associative memory, a high level functioning of associative memory. So that's when you want to go and get creative, that's what you've got to do, is let those associative memories come together in weird ways. Not everyone has this ability to be creative. I find driving my 51 Hudson back up on the old country roads gets my left and right brain mixing things up very nicely into new creative ways and things. But other people get creative just listening to Bach or Beethoven. You know, it depends on the person, but that's a way to get unexpected things into your speech, okay? Now, the next thing we ask to make a speech sticky is, was the speaker credible? Now here I'll have to turn to the audience to ask opinions on that.
Hi, my name is Nyla.
What's your name?
Nyla.
Oh, Nyla. Hi, And stay up a minute. So you felt she was genuine and sincere, and that made her credible. I think what we're easy about is trying for us to all see what it is that makes somebody personally credible. Remember we said CAD were the three dimensions of credibility, right? Remember CAD? You remember CAD now? Who remembers CAD? You remember CAD? Trustworthiness, expertness, and dynamism. Now, did you trust her?
Yes.
What made her? She was an expert in being herself. She was an expert in talking about what happened to her. And dynamism, was she interesting enough? She didn't deliver it in a monotone, did she? So that, we define her personal credibility that way. And the other level of credibility is any evidence she uses helps build her credibility, her external credibility. Did she cite her evidence fully and give its date?
It was her personal experience, so yes.
But did she cite any other evidence?
The Sandy Shan.
Sandy Beach, yeah, Sandy Shan. Sandy Shan. From a good source, right? So she had good external credibility too from her research. So that helped her credibility. So on that level, she was sticky on credibility, right? Now, the next test we put to a film speech to make it more sticky is, was it concrete, very concrete, and not too abstract? Let's first explain the concept. Why do we want to be concrete and not too abstract? I'll ask this gentleman in the corner. Yeah.
Hi, I'm David.
What's your name?
Danny.
Kaylin?
Danny.
What?
Danny.
Danny. Hi, Danny.
We want it to be complete so it's easy to follow for the audience.
Yeah. Because why is concrete easier to follow for the audience than abstract?
Just the opposite. So
Abstract is easier to follow.
no, concrete.
Concrete is easier to follow than abstract. Yeah. Okay. So we think she was pretty concrete with her examples. She gave personal examples. Okay. So we didn't have a problem in the concrete area, right? Okay, good. Mm-hmm. The next thing we look at, according to Heath and Heath, to make a speech sticky is what? The big E. The big E. What's the big E? Wrong one. Yeah, never forget them. Oh, I like Connie. Okay, it's funny. Stand up for
Hi, I'm Connie.
yourself. Hi, Connie.
And the E stands for emotion.
E stands for emotion. Every sticky speech makes an emotional connection. That's why we practice doing it. If you make an emotional connection with your audience, you will be remembered, and you're not just speaking to a wall and 10 minutes later, I'll forget everything. Yeah. So, was it emotional?
Yes.
Did she make an emotional connection? And I hope so. That was the purpose of the assignment. And then finally, after emotional, we come to Heath and Heath's favorite thing that every speech should have, which is what? Hi, Nicole. It's stories and more stories. Stories upon stories. And did she have lots of stories? She sure did. She talked about her father. She talked about day of the day. Why are stories sticky?
Hi, I'm Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
Stories are sticky because they like give us something to grasp. They
Yeah,
make
Brenda, you're not allowed to say like again in my class.
okay. Because they make
Bestseller.
the ideas easier to grasp
Why do they make ideas easier to grasp?
because
Brenda,
they give us something to like resonate with.
why do they resonate with
Because simple ideas. Like,
us? Not all stories are simple.
not
You have a
sure.
mother and a father?
Yes.
Have they told you any stories about your relatives?
Yes.
Do you remember them?
Yes.
Why?
They make connections.
They make connections. You
Yeah.
care about it. Anybody else want to help out old Brenda? Okay, yes, sir. Please.
I'm Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. Is that with an E or an I?
2 A's.
Two A's. Okay, two A's.
Yeah, and I think it's because they communicate emotion, like you feel something
Yeah.
after the big story. So.
That's a big part of it when it's done right. The communicating motion. I'm going to say, so I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say there's something anthropological about storytelling that's built into us as humans. We used to be an oral society, you know, where knowledge and things were passed along between, not to say fathers and sons, that would be awful. Daughters and mothers, you know, between generations, that's safer, right? Right? And they would sit around and learn what happened and what to do and what not to do, and we valued stories for that reason. Excuse me. So we've come deep inside to really treasure and like stories, good stories. Okay, enough on this. Okay, good. All right, you're standing way toward the back. So I would say to give you a grade on stickiness, this was a very sticky speech. Congratulations. Okay. Okay, may we have another D, please? Come on down, Aaron with two A's. Thank you. Doesn't need a stapler, that's good. Oh, you're taller. Okay, good. Just stay right there, that's good. Oh, that's good. Yes. Wait a minute, I'm not happy with this shot. Happy with that shot either. I'm happy with that shot, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're real good. Yeah. Aaron stands before us, managing attention, communicating respect. Making sure all computers are closed, telephones are away. Books and notes are closed, and if you find them, you friendly type cough just to get their attention, to get them to close their book or computer. You look around for friendly eyes because that's where you want to make your hook, your connection with your audience. You look around and say to yourself, I really respect my audience, and the way you learn to say, I respect you, you really mean it. So it's genuine. Find friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
So gay. That's what Ang Lee said on the set of Brokeback Mountain after filming the first sex scene. And that was the first time I ever watched a gay film, and I fell in love. I really love gay cinema. And more recently, there's a movie called Call Me By Your Name. And Call Me By Your Name really struck a chord with me. It made me feel nostalgic, brave, and helpless. David Sims from The Atlantic wrote a review on the film. He said, this is a film to rush to and then savor every minute of. And I couldn't agree more. I think this film really is about pace, it's about speed, and it really gets you to slow down, whereas a lot of Hollywood films get you to speed up and they really bombard you with information. So the first way this film made me feel is nostalgic, and the first part of the whole movie, the first part of the movie, the first hour is pretty much this grad student from America. He goes to Italy to work with the professor there. And the professor's son basically is like a host. So he's showing him around. He takes him around on bikes in little villages. They swim. They hang out with friends. They get drinks. And the whole thing is very much like, except for the drinks, it reminded me of my childhood and the time that I spent just kind of wandering around. Specifically, I remember this one time when I went to my friend Jack Blair's house. And we rode our bikes, we hung out at the pool, we ate food, and we played Yu-Gi-Oh! And just these kind of like careless days are like really precious. And I think now that we're in college, we kind of lose a lot of that because we're too busy studying, too busy doing things that we're obligated to. So the film really struck a chord with like my nostalgia and really thinking back to the days when I was really young. The second thing that this film really communicated to me was bravery. There's this one moment after about an hour of sexual tension build up between the two main characters, Elio and Oliver. They're swimming in a river, and Elio kind of gets physically closer. He moves very close to Oliver, and you can kind of feel after an hour of this back and forth of flirting and kind of like tension. Finally, Elio gets enough courage to give Oliver a first kiss. And it's kind of like the moment where the whole story kind of unfolds. It becomes very transparent where the rest of the movie is going to go. And this really was relatable to me because I remember my first kiss was really uncomfortable, and basically like after we had dinner, she was like, oh, do you want to stop at this place, like stop at Grizzly Peak, as it was called. And at the time, I didn't know that this was like a notorious makeout spot for high school kids, so I'm like, okay, sure, like let's go there. So we drove there, and we parked the car, and we like sit in the back, and this is a beautiful view. Like it's right in the Oakland Hills, so you can see like the Bay Bridge, you see the lights of the city of San Francisco. It's a gorgeous place, and we're just sitting in the back of my car, and it was like pretty dark, so I could only see like the outline of her face, and I was like staring at her. I was like, oh, I want to kiss her, but like I just like was really nervous, and so like we were staring at each other for a long time, and then finally she goes, just do it. And so I worked up enough courage to do it, and that was my first kiss, and then we like broke up the next day because she was so uncomfortable. And so that's how the film made me feel sort of brave. The last emotion that I'm going to talk about is helplessness. And this film really dealt with it very strongly because the last scene of the film was a really long shot. It was probably like 5 to 7 minutes, just one shot of Elio in front of a fireplace crying. And he's crying because Oliver had to leave, his family wouldn't accept a gay relationship, and so he kind of just was just sulking in the fact that they would never be together, and like that their relationship was perfect. And his father actually acknowledges that he noticed like that he could tell that Elio and Oliver had a relationship or some kind of like really intimate relationship, and he said something along the lines of, I never had anything like what you two had, and so don't let the sorrow of this moment ruin the beauty of the moments and the joy that you had in the previous time together. And so this really reminded me of the relationship that I have with my grandfather. We're really close, and a few months ago we went on a road trip to Oregon together to see the eclipse, and he said at the end of that trip, well, I hope you have a beautiful life. And that was kind of like this moment that was like really sad for me, and it really made me feel kind of like helpless, because I know that he's not going to be there with me like for the rest of my life. But like, you just have to enjoy the beautiful moments as you have them, and then like just make the most of the present so that you can't worry about the future too much. In summary, I've told you how this film has made me feel nostalgic, brave, and helpless.
Should be no doubt in this room.
There should be no doubt in this room that this film really moved me. I think, going back to the quote from the reviewer, I really think that this movie is about pace and about slowing down and living life at a speed that is much more enjoyable. And so I implore you to take a little bit of time today and think about things you're grateful for and really appreciate everything that you have rather than what you're striving towards. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you just stand there, step up? Would you mind, Daisy, turning on the light? I want to just see what happens when the lights go on in the classroom. Because I got a little shadow on your forehead, and I want to see if it goes away with the lights. The big white button. No, that's worse. Okay, I turned it off. Yeah, it's worse. Who knew? What? Oh, yeah, teach me. Teach me photography, please. I know, I tried to hit this for lighter white for the forehead. Is that? Hit the screen and, oh, I see, make it brighter. Oh, brighter.
You can do it anywhere on the screen.
Oh, I see. So, oh, I didn't know how to do that. Oh, that's better, yeah. Okay. Relax, take your hands behind your back. People think you have a gun there, yeah. Smile. This isn't going to hurt. Yeah, very good, yeah. Thank you for that help. So you moved the dial up?
Yeah.
Oh. I just told you just hit his face and it would get lighter. Well, your forehead's going to be a little dark, sorry. Well, we're somewhere over here. Where? Here?
Yeah.
Okay, Snoopy.
Hi, I'm Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
The part, I really liked how you used vocal variety, especially at the beginning. It was an attention grabber, and I also really enjoyed your stories. They're really funny, and I could feel the emotion that you were feeling at the moment.